All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everybody that's here tonight. Just a little side note, the new video cameras that came in from the Google grant have been installed, and they pick up every little detail. So we see things we didn't see before, and they're clear. So yeah, don't pick your nose. All right, I've asked Councilman Gantier to lead us in prayer and pledge. Please stand.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this time to come and do business. Lord, help us to be wise in the way we do our business, for you to be a good example. Lord, we thank you for all that we have. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have roll call, please.
Terry Lamar.
Here.
Troy Shropshire.
Here.
Lori Bradshaw.
Here.
Travis Malure.
Here.
Randy Chitwood.
Here.
Charles Trammell. Chris Gantier.
Here.
Bruce Smith.
Here. Okay. Thank you. Item 2, I don't believe we have any petitions from the audience, none that I'm aware of. We'll move to item 3, the consent agenda. Do I have any items that we need to, or would like to see removed?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Items G is in George and N is in November.
Okay.
We also need H, I, and L.
H. I got hopeful there for a minute. To you. H, I,
L.
and L. Okay. Anybody else?
Where's the one on
N.
N?
Yes, sir.
Okay, N is off already. All right, so I need a motion to approve all items except for G, H, I, L, and N.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
A motion from Choi and a second from Chitwood. Call for the vote.
1 second. Lamar.
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Malure.
Yes.
Chitwood.
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Item G, approve an expenditure in the amount of $45,175.69 to H&H Shooting Sports for new Glock pistols and holsters, $39,175.69 to be paid from police miscellaneous account 96-965-5502, and $6,000 from police capital outlay 44-445-5424. Officers will be trading in their current pistols. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Chitwood,
Second.
second from Malure. Discussion?
What exact, then we talked about this a few months ago, and you said you were swapping from Glock pistols over to Smith & Wesson's, what you thought at the time.
We changed against that. I'll have my firearms instructor come in.
Okay.
He can explain. He did the research on it. He did the
Okay.
training on them, and he can explain all the ins and outs of the guns
All right.
better than I can.
So what was your question about the?
We were talking earlier, a couple months ago, about swapping pistols, and he said that the reason that they wanted to go from a Glock to a Smith & Wesson at the time.
I did T&E on both the Glock, the new Glock 45, the model number. It's still a 9mm, and I did T&E on the Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm, the 2.0. I put several thousand rounds through both of them in training, and both of them performed fantastic. The Smith & Wesson is kind of a Glock clone. A lot of companies are coming out with Glock clones, and Glock, years ago, they dropped the patent on the Gen 3 Glock after they moved to the Gen 4 and 5 technology. So that patent hit the open market and everybody started making copies. That's kind of what the Smith & Wesson is. They've done a really good job on it, and it's a great gun. It has a fantastic trigger in it, and we were seriously considering going with it. The issue is, number one, the magazines were kind of cheap. They're made by a company called Maggar, who makes most magazines for most firearms manufacturers, but they were a weak point, broken base pads and bent feed lips on those T&E guns just through the 5,000 or 7,000 rounds we put through them, and then on top of that, it's just the reliability. The M&P previous to the 2.0 was a considerably better gun than anything Smith & Wesson's come out with in the last several years, but it still wasn't, like, there were still a lot of issues. We talked to a lot of other experts that had seen issues in the Smith & Wessons, and what it really came down to for us was just the history of reliability with the Glocks. So we took a very in-depth look at those. We also looked at SIG, but there's a pretty severe lawsuit with SIG right now, and we didn't want to get involved in anything like that. There's been
A good price jump too.
yeah, and there's been several officers, specifically OHP, that have actually had their firearms go off in the holster while on duty, and that's what part of that lawsuit is. So that was kind of off the table for us. We looked at some other ones, but what it really came down to was the M&P 2.0 and the Glock 45, and at the end of the day, the Glock was what we decided was.
The switch from the iron to the red dot,
Yeah, we also T&E'd some red dots.
which is your sights on your guns. So
Yeah.
right now, we just have iron sights.
And
That's what I was kind of working around to. I knew that you had wanted to get the sights, and the biggest trade up you're going to get is because how old are your sidearms now?
they vary in age, but they're mostly around 10 years.
Okay,
at
and
this
which
point.
is not a long time for a firearm.
It is whenever you're carrying it in the rain and rolling around on the ground fighting people and in and out of the weather.
But 10 years all you want out
Yeah.
of law enforcement.
If your life is going to depend on it every day, then we typically, and that's something that we've always done here at this department, is every 10 years we try and get new guns.
But the biggest reason you'd like to have optics on.
That is a huge reason. We've always replaced our firearms, our handguns every 10 years, just for reliability reasons. But one of the things we've been looking at going to red dots on the handguns for years now. That's something that we've talked about. It's just a huge process to try and take a gun that wasn't made to accept a red dot sight and get it to where it can. And that's getting to be such a widespread thing in law enforcement and even in the public sector, putting red dots on handguns. It's a huge benefit. I've got 60,000 years worth of data to prove why it's such a huge benefit. But
The liability is the one main thing.
the liability is a huge one, and I mean, if any of you want to know anything about it, I've got all this information. I've got Aaron Cowan is kind of in the industry considered to be the subject matter expert on red dots on handguns. He's done more research on it than anybody. I went through his class last summer, so I'm a red dot instructor through Sage Dynamics, and his class and the research that he's done is really impressive. He wrote a 73-page white paper on the study of just kind of the human eye and how it works, and law enforcement and how we perceive a threat, and then how we engage that threat whenever we have to. And the study's pretty impressive. It's like I said, it's 73 pages long. I thought about printing it off and bringing each of you a copy, but I figured if you want it, I'll email it to you.
The thing is, when you pull this trigger, you're responsible for every bullet in that gun. So if, my target is such, and I miss, and I hit somebody else, I'm responsible, the city's responsible for that gun.
This
So
is a perfect example of that. It's one of the big things that we went over in that class was mistakes of fact and uses of lethal force. So one of the biggest benefits of the red dot is you're target focused or threat focused instead of trying to focus on your front sight. Every firearms instructor knows that whenever you're teaching people to shoot, you teach them to focus on the front sight. Well, if you're focused on the front sight in order to actually be able to get an accurate shot on target, you can't see what the threat is doing. or you can't focus on it anyway.
You're
It's
blurred.
there in your vision, it's just not in focus. So that situation could change in, matter of tenths of seconds. And that's what changes going from the iron sight to the red dot, is being able to see if that's still a threat at the time that I actually pull the trigger.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this an internal red dot or external? Is the red dot within a holographic image type thing, or is it one that projects onto the?
Yeah, it's like a holographic
Okay,
image.
all right,
Yeah,
I
it's
just
not-
wanted
yeah.
to make
It's
sure.
not like a
I-
laser sight that
Okay,
actually projects the
okay.
information. Yeah.
Go ahead. I
Um,
just wanted to make sure I knew which one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are
Um,
you going with the 17 or 19 Glock?
It's the Glock 45 is the new model that they call it, and the reason that we're going with the 45 specifically is because Glock now offers that gun only for law enforcement and only available through like 2 agencies, not even individual officers, but 2 agencies through authorized Glock dealers, already milled from factory in Glock for the red dot.
Okay,
And that's a big thing that's one of the reasons that it took so long for law enforcement to catch on to putting red dots on handguns is how you mount them to the handgun itself. There's been, in the competition world, I think red dots started going on handguns in the 70s and 80s.
aim point.
And it was, and it was a big benefit to those guys, but you can't put that in a holster. So we couldn't carry it on the street. Now they've gotten smaller, they started putting adapter plates and stuff like that, but it was a weak point and it was just a question of reliability. So Smith & Wesson offers a gun that's specifically, it's that M&P 2.0, it's specifically milled for an aim point acro, and they say that they're supposed to be coming out with one very soon for the Holosun 509T, which is the optic that we chose. And I have all kinds of information on studies of all the optics, and the Holosun 509T had no failures during all of its testing. So that's one of the biggest reasons we went with it.
They're also solar, aren't they?
It does, it runs on solar, and that was another big thing over the aim point. The aim point batteries, they use a different battery than most of the other companies do, and they just eat batteries. So we're talking battery life. We would be spending hundreds or thousands of dollars a year on batteries for the aim point, whereas the Holosun, I think, has a 50,000 hour runtime on one battery. So they recommend changing it annually. So we're looking at one 1632 button cell battery per officer per year instead of the aim points. I mean, I say all that just to say we've done our research on it.
Right.
I've been studying red dots on handguns since probably 2016 or 18, and then I put the first red dot on one of my handguns in 2020. I went to this red dot instructor school last year, and we've done our research, is what I'm trying to say. So, and
I think Smith is a good gun, but unlike other agencies, that can, okay, we don't like them in 2 years, we get a whole new group of guns. We're not gonna do that. So we're married to what we get for a while.
Yeah.
And so we need to stick with what we know is gonna work, and Glock has proven itself.
So you're running a 17 round or a 19 round?
So the Glock
magazine?
45 is a mix between the Glock 19 and the Glock 17. It has a full-size Glock 17 grip with a Glock 19 slide. So it's a shorter slide, so it can come out of the holster a little bit quicker, but it has a full-size grip, so you can still get a good grip on the gun. So it holds 17 rounds still from the factory. It comes with 3 magazines. It's just a little bit shorter slide length. In the past, slide length kind of mattered because the longer slide radius or sight radius
More accurate?
made it was more accurate. With a red dot, you have one focal plane, so the slide length doesn't matter near as much on the handguns that we're putting.
You
red
actually
dots
look through your sight
Yeah.
at your target downrange.
Can you let me ask you a question? Did you tend to have any problem as far as the speed of target acquisition with the Glock versus the Smith? Because the Glock tends to aim down and.
That's just a training issue. The Glock has a 22-degree grip angle. The Smith has an 18-degree grip angle. So it's a little bit more of a straightforward, like a 1911 feel on the Smith & Wesson. The Glock has a little bit more drastic grip angle, but that's what our officers are already shooting. That's what they're already used to. So transitioning to the red dot isn't really an issue for them. If you were to pick up a gun and you've never had any experience, A lot of times shooters do pick up on the Smith & Wesson red dot a little bit faster, but it's just a training issue. And all of our officers are gonna go through a mandatory red dot transition school before they start carrying these things, so they know how to use them. But we'll work all of that out in training before they ever get issued the gun.
And the way it's timed out, we got qualifications coming up in April with these pistols. It's gonna be at least 5 months before we get the other ones in. And then we'll transition over. I require 2 qualifications a year. So we're gonna be doing that second qualification this year will be off of the pistols. So it doesn't add any more training for what we were already gonna do anyway.
So the price you have here, it's, the firearm, the Holosun, red dot, and a holster that would work with that
Mhm.
rig, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have to have new holsters. The guns are a little bit different, plus putting the optic on there, it has to accommodate that.
And then we got some detective pistols, admin pistols, which can distribute some both. Trammell can explain all that if we want to. You know, they sat down, I mean, you have experts that do that, you know, for you. And so I handed it to them, said, here, see what best fits our department and our needs. And that will leave us a few extra. Also, if one goes down, or we need one, or whatever it may be. But it gets us set up where we need to be as a department.
While we're on the issue of the optics and such, will the firearms come with the optics already mounted, or will we have to do that? And then also this special trigger that you're requesting, will we have to have somebody put those on, or will they come like that?
The optic will come installed from the factory already, torqued to spec and everything like that. The trigger is something that we'll have to put on in the department ourselves. We have, I think, 8 Glock armors
A
in
lot
our
of Glock
department.
armors that have been
So
through training.
that'll be something on the shift level that we'll be able to get taken care of in less than a day. But the optics will come already on there. It was cheaper to buy it as a package. I think I have the whole breakdown of it right here, but it was $466.50 cheaper for the 50 Glock 45s to buy them already with the optic installed from the factory, as opposed to buying them separately and putting them on ourselves. Not to mention the man hour that it would cost to install everything, and then if we break any parts trying to tighten it down to the right torque spec, I think it's 18 inch-pounds or something like that. It's kind of a process, so.
And the buyback, or trade-in or whatever, are the officers allowed to get those, firearms back from the company?
Yes, that's something, some of these officers have carried this gun for 10 years. I went through firearms instructor school with mine. And then some of the officers, it was the first gun that they've ever had since they got into law enforcement. So the companies that we trade them into typically they charge a little bit for a processing fee, because we will actually sell the guns back to the company, and then they will sell them back to the officer if they wish to buy them.
And the officer will do the paperwork through them,
Yeah.
buying it personally, not as a city.
What's the average price that you get out of one? I know they usually start from, a used one's $285, and they go up to about $400 or something for one that's in really nice shape for a used
Yeah,
one.
on ours, we got bids from Glock and from H&H and key distributors, and they were pretty close on all of them, but it was around 200 and, I think, 80 or 90. It varied a little bit for the Gen 4s, and like 300 for the Gen 5s on the buyback.
That's
So-
pretty good.
And then you'll pay whatever $50 processing fee or whatever on the back end of that to them.
But still, that's a good price, if
Yeah.
you've carried them around that long.
And I think you can only do one per officer, so it ain't like one officer can go buy 10 guns and then resell them.
It's just, the whole program is set up just so the officer can buy their service weapon back if they choose to. It's not so that they can buy several and then try and turn around and sell them for a profit. So,
In a normal year, with the training and everything else in normal operation, how many rounds would you say is a normal year that they go through?
it varies from year to year. Whenever we were doing this T&E and I went through that Red Dot instructor school and
Right.
stuff, we went through, just me personally, I went through probably 10,000 rounds.
Sure.
That's doing a lot of
Right.
training and a lot of study on all this
Right.
stuff. It takes 6,800 rounds minimum for us to qualify all of our guys. If they all
Okay.
shoot first-time qualification.
Sure.
And that's on one qual, per year, so double that for the 2 quals a year, and that's a handgun only.
Wow.
So,
So how many rounds per officer per qualification?
it's a 25-round qualification course. It starts at the 25-yard line and goes in all the way up to, like, basically, point and shoot from the 1 yard.
You can hear like the training that they're at now, they had a sword training, which is single officer response. They went through 200 rounds each, so these guns, each training, if you do something like that, you know, you're shooting your gun.
You
You
get
know,
it.
and then like you said, the wear and tear of being outside in the holsters and, everyday use.
The average citizen shoots about 100 to 500 rounds a year through their
Yeah.
gun, if that. In law enforcement, we shoot thousands of rounds a year in our guns. So, I mean, that's why we swap them out every 10 years typically. Springs will wear out, triggers will
Right.
break, stuff like that. And it's just not something you want to risk if your life depends on it, or somebody else's life depends on it.
Yep.
Just so that you guys know, this is one of the key points in that class, that what he was talking about earlier about the liability and stuff. I could show you the video and the whole breakdown of all of the shooting that happened, but it was Ricardo Diaz in Gardenia, California. The officers they had their guns drawn, they were engaging with him on the street. He dropped his hands, they shot him. I'm not saying that that's completely going to mitigate things like that, but that's where you're able to threat focus and see what this guy's doing with his hands versus he did something with his hands, now I have to find my front sight and actually pull the trigger. That was one of about 6 different cases that we studied in this class, but that city settled for $4.7 million on that shooting.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that a red dot sight on a handgun would have saved that. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But I can tell you that there are so many studies out there that show that officers can threat focus while they're using the red dot sight. And, I mean, it's just the data's there to prove statistically we're going to cut down that number of, mistaken fact lethal force situations that we encounter.
Well, and you also gotta look at, normal, say somebody shoots 100% on the range. You put them in a high-stress shooting situation, that drops down to what? What do
They say
call it?
20% of whatever or you lose 80% of your ability to.
So now you're down to that. So
shoot.
you take a guy that shoots 80s, now he's down basically, you're gonna miss a lot. I mean, we've all saw the videos. You go back to your training, and Bruce knows that from being law enforcement, but that's where training's so important on firearms anyway. That's why we were doing it once a year. I'm like, we need it at least twice a year, and then like those trains that come up, that should be a priority to us because you're gonna have that long to decide to pull that trigger.
I actually have the accuracy data for LAPD from 2012 to 2022 and NYPD from 1994 to 2000. There's not really a standard way that they get any of this information collected, but like it has hit ratios. In 2012, Los Angeles, their hit ratio on officer-involved shootings was 27% of the rounds actually hit the intended target. 2013, it was 20%, 2014, 34, 38, and then, I mean, it just kind of goes on like that. NYPD actually breaks it down by distance. So from 94 to 2000, they just kind of compiled all of that. And their 0 to 2 yard distance, they had a 38% hit ratio. And then it just gets worse from there. 3 to 7 yards, 17% hits. 8 to 15 yards, 9%. And then 16 to 25 yards, 8%. And then 25 yards or more they're hitting 4% of the rounds that they actually fire. And then they just have an unknown distance for anything that they didn't gather the information on, but it was 2% of a hit ratio. So, I mean,
And that's where the equipment comes in. Like on the red dot, I know we're gonna shoot better. The rifles, putting the scopes on the rifles, getting the equipment that we need, the slings. I don't know if anybody saw the P on the slings, but there's a reason for that. Because if you have to go hands on and you got a gun that doesn't have a sling on it, then what are you gonna do with it? Throw it down? I mean, you gotta be able to sling that gun. We don't have that capability because none of our equipment had that. So building that back to where we need to be to give the officers the best chance, in these times. If they find themselves in a situation, give them the tools they need. And that's just another tool,
I got a couple of simple questions. What holsters are you currently using?
Safari Land, I think they're 60/30.
That's what we
is the model
currently have?
number. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what is gonna happen to those holsters?
I mean, I would imagine he'll probably sell them on Purple Wave. He sells everything else that's laying around.
Sit around too long. And we, I mean, we'll probably surplus them eventually. I mean, they'll go in our stores, we can surplus those.
Can I make a suggestion, and I don't know if it's something that we could do, but, you know, if we go through with this and the officers are gonna want the guns, mark whose holsters is whose, in case they may have the opportunity to purchase them. I don't know what we would have to do to be able to legally allow that or not, but in case we do,
I think that'd be a conversation for another,
right.
I can
another
tell you,
agenda item.
a lot of these holsters are 10 years old, just like the guns are. And I had to get mine replaced after firearms instructor school because it cracked all the way up the back. And a lot of them are gonna be in about that shape.
Okay,
So they're
so
almost,
maybe a moot point.
they're almost of no value. And there's a really high likelihood that whenever we get these holsters turned in and go through them and look at them, there's several of them probably gonna go in the trash, honestly, because they're just not of any value. And it would be unsafe and almost a liability, I think, to sell somebody a holster that's broken and defective and not in working order, so.
And the chief kind of answered partially the question that I want to ask. I know when you go from regular sights to optics, it does take time, and he said that they're gonna have that opportunity to learn that adjustment prior to getting the firearms. That was a concern of mine because it is different.
And they said that the company that we're dealing with said that as long as we need these, we can hold them.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted.
They're not gonna be like, oh, we need guns immediately. So they're gonna work with us, let us transition to when we feel comfortable,
Sure.
you know, transitioning over everything.
Chief, will you explain where the funding mostly came from to do this?
That was the sale of the old firearms is where most of the funding came from.
How much difference? And when you say an old firearms, just so people know, those were
All-
stuff that came in.
The old evidence,
Yeah.
armory, things that we could get rid of. It gave us right at 42 in that account, and I explained to Bruce earlier. So part of it, like 39 something, me and Courtney sat down and looked at the numbers, is coming out of that donation. 6 is coming out of capital. The reason we did that, because I could have had enough in that donation, but we got a kid that we're hiring, and he'll be hired this month. And I just found out that Central Tech over in Sepulpa is they're doing a cleat academy now, starting May 6th. Cleat, which is an ADA, doesn't start till July. Trammell, when's that?
Yeah.
July something, so you got a 2-month gap that our new hire, McCall, is gonna be sitting around the PD not doing anything, getting paid. So it's gonna cost the city, you know, I think we put that pen to paper. You remember what it was, Courtney, like 6, 7 grand?
I think it was like 6 something.
Yeah, it was his, yeah.
It's in that
it was like
$6,000 or $7,000 mark, so that academy in, Sepulpa will cost $3,500, plus per diem. So that leftover money that we have in those donations account will pay for that, and we'll get that kid on the street 2 months sooner and save the city, basically, time of him just sitting around. That's why part of it's split up like that, on there.
Thank you.
We looked at it, we talked to Zach and Courtney and Lisa, and we're just saying, like I said, you can put stuff in capital that's gonna be an asset, or, like guns, things like that can be in your capital, but you couldn't pay for him out of that account, to go to that training, so that's why we did that.
We need to kind of look at these numbers on here too, and Courtney's got that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've already went through all that.
Oh, is
That-
But she can-
Well, from what I gathered, we didn't have the money that we thought we did in there. That account number 96, 965, 5502, what was in that account?
5502 has $43,525.09.
Okay,
If you guys remember correctly, I told you in the past that the Fund 96 account is not correct in Cassell. That's why I have to manually give you the balances.
right, that's why I wanted you to bring those numbers out.
Yeah.
And then the $6,000 was gonna come out of 44,445, 5424.
Mhm.
And that was like 178,000 or something like that, I believe.
Yeah.
So that, there's
Remaining.
plenty of money in that one.
Yeah, our capital's healthy on that end of it, so that's why we did that, and we're trying to keep it off the general.
All right. Any further questions? All right, call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes,
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar.
Yes.
Am I up next?
Yeah, you're up next.
That's several in there.
Of course, we're in the consent agenda. It's either you or the rec center.
Well, the big thing is we found out you guys needed some optics.
Yeah.
Right? All right, item H, approve an expenditure in the amount of $11,875 to Intoxometers Incorporated for 30 portable breath tests to be paid from Police Light Bar Donations Account 969655528. An Attorney General's grant for $10,755.53 will be applied to this purchase. This is a state contract price. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Chitwood, second from Choya. Discussion.
So basically what these are just another tool for the guys, to use on a DUI stop. So, you know, if you stop somebody, smell alcohol, you start building your probable cause for the arrest. And this is a tool that you can use. It's not gonna, so we can do the portable breath test, like say, hey Randy, we blow into this test for me, blows in and it shows 0.08 blood alcohol content. That's not admissible in court. I can say it's reasonable suspicion, and I built my case on that, but we still have to offer the state's test, which is an intoxilizer. It's just something that the guys carry in their cars with them, where, you know, he's kind of borderline, and man, I just don't know. And so you can have him do that test, because otherwise you're going off of some other test that, you know, maybe he's a diabetic, whatever, can also
Subjective.
indicate some other clues. But that breath test is going to tell you right away, is it alcohol or not? And it will clear up a lot of you know, confusion or people that are just borderline.
So are these reusable since COVID, or how does
They've
that?
got go ahead. You can explain. They got straws on them, like little plastic straws is what, you know, they look like, and you blow into them and you just take them off and
Okay,
replace them.
you could get extra straws.
Yes.
Okay.
The piece of equipment itself, and they got warranties on them, that's why there's a little bit more expensive. And Trammell did the research on it and got us one for every car, that we would just, when we're trying to equip stuff, we try to equip it across the board, you know, things that we can use, just like we did the jump packs and things like that we've been building up on, that we were not, you know, short here or short there.
Chief, we had talked earlier this week, maybe last week, it's only Tuesday, about your revenues that you've brought in through traffic stops, tickets, et cetera. Can you refresh?
Correct, and I know Courtney, I don't know if she's had a chance yet, so,
Yeah, fixed.
I know 1 month showed like $93,000 into the general fund. That was December, which was a big month for us, because I mean, we had a lot of grant shifts going, I know we had 150 hours of that grant shift. But up until that point, I know for 6 months there, from like July till, I can't remember what it was 66,000, so that 1 month lapsed all of that. So I know the general fund's getting padded by officers getting out there writing more citations. Some people don't, I mean, you look at the number of stops versus citations, yeah, it's a lot lower, but they're still writing citations, and they're writing a lot more than they used to. Morale's part of that, you know, when you build the morale of the officers, they're proactive, they get out and do their own thing. You know, citations come along with that. Digi-Ticket will help that as well, it'll be a lot faster for them, and we're getting close on that, as far as getting state link built in. It's been some hiccups, getting all that to talk to each other, but, I'm interested to see what the numbers were. I like that one number she got, she had $1 million.
Yeah,
That's
that was
what
a
I'm
good one.
going with.
That was incorrect, and we're working to fix it, and I told him not to
Jeremy,
say
you won't cause
anything.
panic around here. I guess the reason I'm asking you to share that information is so that, you know, as we make these investments into our officers, we're seeing a return on that investment. We're seeing it hit the general fund where it needs to hit. And I think as we go forward, we'll continue to see, I know the numbers for the last month or so have been even higher, so I'm eager to see what the final benefit to the general fund will be from these improvements made, not only to the equipment, but like he said, the morale of the department. You know, that's important through all of our progress and growth as a city. So, yeah, keep up the good work.
Are those numbers that you're giving out on the tickets, is that, I'm gonna use the term gross, is that gross? In the sense that, is that how much we're bringing in, or that's what the ticket was for, say a fine of $150, but we didn't necessarily get that from the defendant yet because they don't have the money to pay and they're gonna pay it out?
This is the actual revenue that we brought in.
Okay.
Yeah, I
She
took
was
out
all
the
that
state
numbers.
fees and all the good stuff that we don't get to.
Remember, Terry, it was $1 million. Now we're down.
Drop from a million down to-
And part of that, you look at the OSO grant, that grant shift the officers working in March, in 12 days of March, they'd hit 101 hours. I had to stop them because we're gonna ask for more money, but they've blown through that money because they're working so many. Whereas a year ago or 2 years ago, they couldn't get the officers to work and had to give money back. So that just shows you the change, the morale. You got some young guys out there that are, out there working hard at it, so it's moving good.
How many
question-
patrol, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say a question on that. The 96, 965, 5228 has about $6,208.29 in it. And you said the grant's at 10,755, so,
It actually had,
That would have a lot more in
we
it.
got the grant money in, so the total balance now is $41,538.62. Prior to
Okay.
the grant, we had $30,783.
I'm just going off the agenda then.
Yeah.
All right.
And we look at that. That's one thing we work hard, I know Zach got griped at the other day because he double checked after I triple checked. I do check that to make sure we're all on the same page.
And if they don't, I make sure that they do.
Yeah, well, that's why we're looking over in your direction.
Yeah.
How many
Right.
units do we have on the road right now? Or roadworthy?
34, I believe it is right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we have 6 down for other repair and maintenance.
But that's kind of in the rotation. Some will be down.
Yeah, but I mean, some of that's due to the age of the fleet, but yes, overall, total vehicles in fleet is 40, but that's counting animal control and everything that's assigned to our department.
So there's 30 units that would be potentially,
Right now, there'd be, yes, 31. Now, I'm counting
30.
chiefs down.
Let's get the PBTs is what he's talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was wanting to know total vehicles and.
no, I'm just wanting to know if this is the right amount for
Yeah, what we're looking at right now is for
patrol units?
patrol units. It's actually gonna go into any, they're actually gonna be assigned to the patrol officer.
Okay.
I know Jeremy, and I'm not correcting the chief, he said the patrol units, that'll be from any of the patrol officers, not including the chief and the assistant chief currently.
Okay.
But, going forward, if we wanna purchase a couple more down the road, we can, and that puts one for every officer at the present because we're allocated for 34 sworn, we're currently at 32 with our new officer.
Thank you.
Any third? All right, call for the vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Got more. All right, item I, approve an expenditure in the amount of $41,500 to GW Construction Company to build a 6-foot tall outdoor dog kennel with chain link, 12 by 12 concrete footings, and a 6-inch stem wall. Is that supposed to be 6 foot?
6 inch.
6-inch stem wall? Just making sure.
Big
Walls, making sure. To be paid from outdoor dog,
In that case, that's a good price.
listen, y'all. Remember double, triple, right? Double, triple check? To be paid from Animal Shelter Donation Account 969655540. Other bids received, M&M Properties in the amount of $44,850, and Owasso Fence in the amount of $31,260 without concrete footings. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Motion from Chitwood and a second from Gantier. Discussion?
It looks like that account has about $48,114.44 in it now, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So,
And I'll let Becky kind of give you a rundown. I mean, she's been trying to do this. I saw bids from 5 years ago,
Yeah.
which I wish we'd done it 5 years ago because it was a lot cheaper 5 years ago. But here we are. So she's been trying to get this done, and this was donation accounts for that. And
Yeah, it's been more than probably doubled at this point on material.
And I don't know if you've been out there and you saw the pins they use now. It's got some issues. Outside pin is falling apart. The dogs have dug underneath it. This will prevent the footing that's going between the pins will prevent the digging. So the dogs can't dig under and go
So
under
what
the
we're
pins.
looking for is a secure pin to put these dogs in, just while we're cleaning, because we're inside cleaning their kennels. Dogs are digging out, and we're right beside 69 Highway. And sometimes these are our dogs, and sometimes they're not our dogs yet, because they belong to an owner still. We're responsible for those dogs.
And so that's kind of, we're working, like, so the animal shelter is on my list of projects that will be coming through, you guys, but this is one of them, and then, like I said, we're still working on the inside.
We've
Looking for different
literally
options.
used blocks that we dug out of our repairs to stuff in holes. I mean, it looks
Yeah, that pin out there now is pretty rough,
pretty janky.
and so we'll probably put those, a couple places we're gonna look, we'll get out there, but I think, he said once it's approved, a couple weeks for the concrete, then maybe mid-April, depending on weather, when he could actually start with the fencing part of it.
So as we go through and we talk about our buildings and our structures, the animal shelter was one that, if you haven't been out there, go now and look, because it's definitely going to be a before and after. We've got some, I think, about a month or so ago I came out there? Was that
Yeah.
somewhere in there? It
Close
was
to it.
rainy. It's always rainy when I go there, but it was raining. So, you've got some damage issues to the walls just from hosing down things. The base of the walls has corroded away. Where they're at, the time of the year, the rodent situation had become a little, I would say, overwhelming.
Cats loose.
There are some loose,
So
There is in one room.
yeah, they're all in one room.
we've stepped up the rodenticides and things there so we can kind of help get that. We've had our pest control make a couple extra rounds out there a month to get things back under control. If you've never worked in an environment with that odor, it's enough to make you sick, and we don't want that. And so we also have got some projects in their kitchen and break room areas.
Air conditioner, because I don't remember the air conditioner last year, it was giving us fits. We took the one from the LPD, brought over, Jayco's looking at it, I don't know if they come out yet, I've been gone last 2 days, but, so Jayco's gonna come out this week and kind of get eyes on it, give us a ballpark of some plans going forward, because it was already hot out there the other day in those kennels.
But as we found those donation funds that Courtney found, immediately we jumped into, let's get some stuff taken care of and take care of that asset. So,
Oh, okay, Jayco was going out this afternoon.
Okay.
I knew he said he was gonna go this week and look at it, kind of give us an idea on that area for the animals.
so again, thank you to Jeremy and to Becky and her staff for getting all this together, and let's get
Thank
that.
you to them, they do a great job out there,
They do.
Do their thing, and they run a lot of calls in town, I promise, I watch the log, and it's always animal calls, and you'll see one of them running it. Our
Yes.
guys don't have to deal with a lot of that.
So thank you very much.
And I had some questions, and I want to clarify for some people why we did not take the low bid of $31,260. That was bid without concrete footing, so
Without.
that was actually a non-compliance bid, correct?
Correct. And
'Cause
the
they did not-
concrete was gonna be 18 grand probably.
Yeah, the concrete's the highest part.
Yeah, so, but I'd been asked that by several people who read
Yeah.
the agenda, and just for clarification for everybody, that's why.
Yeah, that was not the concrete. He said they would have to sub that out. He said they don't do that at all.
All right. Further questions? Call for the vote.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes,
Bradshaw.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item L, approve an expenditure in the amount of $9,218 to Casco for a thermal imaging camera to be paid out of the Fire Department Capital Outlay Account 4444554422. Current balance $179,827.50. Other bids received, Conrad in the amount of $9,836.61, and Curtis Tools in the amount of $11,522.50. Do I have a motion?
motion.
Second.
Motion from Choya, second from Mr. Chitwood. Chief, come on up.
Jeremy did all the talking, so holler at him to come back up. Now, do y'all have any questions for me? That camera actually jives with the one we have on engine one. Engine three's went out. It's old enough now, they're not making replacement parts for it, so we can't even fix it or send it off to be fixed. But I think we got it back in 2013 is what James looked back and found. So it's met its life. We strung it along as we could, but they're not making parts for that. They're phasing that camera out, so we're moving up to a newer one, but it also jives with the one we have on engine one. So batteries, we can take batteries from one another, and chargers, we can switch in and out.
How many do you have total?
We try to keep one on each engine.
So you got
So
two.
two. Well, now we're down to
Well,
one
yeah.
right now, but when we get this one back up, we'll have two. But each engine, we carry one on each engine to fires, hot spots, all that stuff.
You can use it to find a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, of course, this is why Jeremy should be up here talking, but even patrolmen have come by and got them, like if somebody's ran out in the woods and stuff like that. It's pretty much like a flare, like what we
Right.
talked about, so a TIC's, what we call a TIC's, just thermal imaging camera, so you can just see, pick up heat signatures and stuff like that, but we've used them for all kinds of stuff. Swift water rescues of a night, we've been able to shine down and actually get locations of people and stuff like that. Fires, of course, when we go in, helps guide us through the smoke in the dark, but, and then even the PD uses it, so if they wanna split the cost with it, I'll entertain that as well.
I think he's done his damage for tonight. Sorry, chief.
Yeah.
Gotta try.
All right.
Well, it looks like in that account you have $179,827.50.
Yes, and 150 of that's transferring to the fire truck
Fire
reserve
truck.
fund, and then we also have a combi tool that we've encumbered some of that money for. But even at that, after we buy this, what we set out for capital outlay, I think there'll be a little over, close to $5,000, but a little over 4. I think we'll be around 4,500, 4,800 when it's all said and done. But prices came in better than what we guessed when we were laying that out in capital outlay.
Good deal. Further questions? All right, call for the vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item N, approve amending an expenditure to an updated total of $44,695 to Bill Knight Ford for a 2023 Ford F-150 to be paid from Gulf Capital Outlay Account 41-415-5417. This expenditure was approved in the amount of $39,543 at March 5th, 2024 City Council meeting. Do I have a motion for?
Motion.
Okay, motion from Chitwood.
Second.
All right. Second from Lori Bradshaw. All right.
Before you guys begin, there's a Scrivener's error. The account number should be 41-415-5411.
Okay, everybody get that?
I'll amend my motion with the Scrivener's error.
Thank you.
Okay, so that balance will be right.
The balance for that account is $47,475.77.
47 what?
$47,475.77.
Okay.
All right.
That about gets all of it, doesn't it?
Dennis, you want to explain?
Yep, we started this project back in November, but due to the time process and Christmas, and the park board didn't have a meeting in December and January, and so when I talked to Greg Herring over there about the price being correct, he said, yeah, that price is correct, but my fault for the communication was that was the only truck that he had. He cannot build a 2023 now. So I was under the impression he could still build a 2023 when we started this project with only those options that I needed. So when I talked to him last week, he said that this truck right here is the least expensive truck he has on the lot. He said if we want to build a 2024, it's probably going to be even more expensive. So the 2023 that he has, this truck right here is the best thing we're going to get with that price. So
So is it gonna have all the stuff added onto it that we said, that you said you didn't want on it?
yeah, that's already on the truck. Even if I go build a 2024 without those things, he says it's going to be more.
And was the truck already ordered through them before it was approved?
No. That's just the truck he had on the lot. So I asked him to give me prices to build the truck back when we first started and give me options that I could take on or off. And that's why we got that truck, so we could take those options off. I thought I could take them off, but then he told me, so that was we can't build 2023s no more. I didn't know that till I went and talked to him last week.
Do we have to go with the Ford?
Don't have to.
I just wonder if we ought to go back to the committee and look at everything and see what's the best option to do, to recommend to us.
Has the park board
Yeah,
looked
no.
at the change?
Yeah.
No, the park board hasn't looked at the change. But, if we go, he said he'd save this truck for a couple weeks, and he's probably gonna, if we don't, go if we do go to park board, it'll probably take, you know, another meeting, and back to you guys, that's another meeting, and that truck probably won't be there, so we'll have to just start looking for 2024.
Which would be more expensive.
Yeah, it'd
Be a lot more expensive,
And this is a state contract.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
35, yep.
So, I mean,
So would a Chevrolet, it's a state contract, be cheaper than this?
No. They're not. If you can find any out there,
yeah,
I know from experience, finding what's on the lot, if you can find them,
right.
because they've been a shortage of them for the last several years. And the 24s will be considerably higher,
Yeah, that's what he's told me,
probably at least $3,000,
yeah.
3,500, yeah.
Same problem we run into with the law enforcement vehicles, that they're just not there.
And from my research, the 2023 is gonna be the least expensive vehicle that we're gonna get right now.
If you can find them.
Right, he has this one on the lot.
Yeah.
I made sure, I got the VIN numbers, and you do have this one, and that's the exact price, and.
But if you let it go, you may not find another.
Right, he said he'd save it for me for, the council meeting, so. I tried to get the least expensive truck I could get.
All right.
And this is gonna be used as a work truck at the golf course, it's not gonna be used for, what's it gonna be used for?
Yeah, I drive it to the golf course, I go get parts, I go, you know, wherever I need to get chemicals, fertilizer, whatever, just parts, that's all.
Just
we-
replacing what, your 97?
Yes, the
Whatever.
90 yeah, the 98.
98?
You still got it, or did you get rid of it?
Still have it, it's got little over 250,000 miles on it though.
So it's not, you don't have to get rid of it, then you can still
No.
use it.
Yeah, we figured we'd just
Just
use
to
it,
keep it running, huh?
run around out there on the golf course to the pump station when conditions are really bad. Cause all we have is little maintenance carts and they don't have covers on them, so if we need to go to the pump station down to the river, it's nice to have something enclosed.
Further discussion? Questions? Okay, call for the vote.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Lamar,
No.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 4, Mayor's Report. Discussion and possible action regarding the Sertoma Club's request to be on the agenda tonight, requesting $36,000 from the general fund for operation cost shortfalls. City did not include funding last year for Sertoma due to budget cuts and modifications. Do I have a
I'll make the
Motion.
motion to discuss, or, yeah.
motion from Chitwood, second from Choya? Jody? Carl? Come on up. Just pull that microphone down a little to you.
Mayor, Councilman, thank you for letting us be here this evening. I want to let you know I'm a little bit older than Trump and a little bit younger than Biden. Okay, my name is Carl Osborne. I worked at Sherwin-Williams for 29 years on Adair Street, and 21 years as Carl's floor covering. During that time, for 54 years, I was a Sertoman day and night. 95% of our total budget is for our seniors and our van service. We just finished a real nice project, Miss Mays County, and it was the best one in 35 years. Went very well. We currently are serving meals on Tuesdays and Fridays. It's growing weekly. I was notified today that it served meals to 75 seniors, and the van is on the road continuously. More and more of the seniors are using our center. The other center, as you know, had a car to go through it, so we're seeing quite a few of those seniors coming over. The inflation of food, insurance, van, everything, as all of you know, is eating us up. Our funds will run out around September 1st, and we'll have no choice but to shut the center down. We've used all the money, all the resources that we can possibly come up with. And things that we do, as you know, are just out of control, and I see no case that it's going to get better. $36,000 will let us continue with the other resources for at least another year at this time. Jody is our president and does the booking part. Jeff Coker is our treasurer, and him and Kat look at our books and checks. Matter of fact, we let them write the checks, so the scrutiny on money is, as you all know, very, very close and everything. We ask you tonight, save our center.
Carl, I've got a couple of questions. Is the center open to only Pryor people or anybody from Mays County to go there?
Anyone.
Do you get any other funding sources from other government agencies in Mays County?
Yes. Jody, would you like to answer those?
We get some funding from United Way.
Well, I'm talking about government agencies. Does the city of Spavinaw give you money to show to Mays County commissioners?
No.
It's county government, municipalities?
No.
Okay,
No.
okay. And how long has the city of Pryor given you funding in the past?
A couple of years ago, we got some funding from the city, and then last year, we didn't get any. We've gotten in years past maybe $5,000 a few times, but since I've been watching the money, I think we've got one $5,000 grant, and then the grant a couple of years ago.
Have you, or are you gonna consider going to those other towns too and asking them for funding, or the county commissioners?
You know, I have thought about that, didn't know that was an option. So, yeah, we could look into that, of course.
And are you asking us for, why was your funding not given last year?
From the city?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the budget crunches and the deficits and things like that was the reason.
And are you asking for money now or to be considered in next year's budget?
We are needing money for next year's budget that starts in July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
So Terry, let me add a little to your question on past funding. So since 2007, the total to the Sertoma was 156,000 from the city through the various years. Some years it was 12.5, some years it was 5s. One year it was, 22? So that number was just over, and I went back to 2007, so that was kind of the oldest legible receipt, was about 156,000.
Okay. And the city owns the building?
Yes.
And I have not done my homework on it, so forgive me on this, but what do you you all pay rent to us for that building, or do we pay the utilities?
Yes.
We give it to you rent-free
Right.
for the facility,
Well,
so that's a big.
They do pay it's like $1.
$1.
$1
Is the
for
amount.
40 years or 20 years. It's a long-term lease on a $1.
So that helps you a bunch by having a free facilities, so to speak.
No doubt about it.
And they are current on that till 2040, I believe, is where the last documentation is, so.
Okay.
Didn't you guys used to have fundraisers that, like Miss Pryor and different things like that through the years to help?
We did, back when our membership was, 35, 40, 50 members, we did. We're down to 7 paying members right now, and I'd call 3 of those active.
Okay.
And so our numbers are just down to the point that we can't put on a dinner for 200 people
I see, okay.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I have a concern.
Sure.
It's not in this year's budget because we just didn't have it, and we are facing the prospect of being over $800,000 short this year. I mean, could it be considered in next year's budget? Sure. But right now, to throw an extra $30-something thousand out, non-budgeted, is concerning to me in the current financial situation that we're in.
Well, we're not asking for now, we're asking for your next year's budget consideration.
Okay.
So you said that, like, the Miss Mays County, that you guys, did you host that, or did you get any monies from this recent one, or was that just all go to scholarship, or how does that work?
You're right, we just had it a couple weeks ago. We don't know what we made yet.
We're hoping for 5,000.
So this number potentially could be less depending on that. Is that? Okay.
Like I said, we think it's gonna be 5,000.
What is the reasoning behind and what is your plan to get your membership back up?
It's a good question. It used to be where businesses required their employees to be members of civic organizations, and we don't find that that's true anymore. And so it's not only us, it's the Lions Club, it's the Rotary, it's churches, it's everybody is dwindling in numbers, and that's kind of what we're facing. That's our problem.
Boy Scouts, Methodist Church.
So, Mr. Mayor, if we voted no on this, that would allow us to consider it for next year's budget, just not do anything on it right now. Is that correct?
Correct. So,
What if we change it to do a consideration in next year's budget?
that's up to you guys. You guys want to consider it? We can consider it.
A consideration instead of a locked down solid number.
Let me ask another question. Who does the who pays for the maintenance on the building?
I'm sorry.
Who pays for the maintenance on the building?
City,
And the city gives you free rent and pays the maintenance, right?
yes.
Okay.
You brought donations in several years ago and redid the walls and the flooring and some other things, correct?
Yes, sir, Veterans Group helped us with that. We refloored it, new ceiling tiles, painted the whole place, remodeled the lobby, and now, we're renting it a lot more often to the tune of about $9,500 a year. The various, organizations that come in and rent.
So,
That's just what I was fixing to ask, if you could possibly rent it or do something during the times where you're not using it to come up with some extra monies.
Yeah, we do, we have an office manager that it's part of her responsibilities to, organize the rentals.
Okay. Maybe the word needs to be put out that it's available.
So,
We do, whenever people call to rent the Grand Building, if it's unavailable, we recommend them
Okay.
for that
yeah, it's all.
as well.
It's
So
really
on
nice
that-
now.
We
that
give them a
it's
few
done.
different options around town.
just for point of reference on that remodel, there was a cost of just over, I don't have the exact, so it was just over 10,000 to the city for that, for the
Right.
ceiling tiles, some electrical done by Bostic for the lighting. We added a few lights. And then there was also, some expenditures to Joel's Plumbing, I believe, for the kitchen work and the
I was gonna say
drainage and things like
kitchen,
that. So overall, what was planned to be about a $250,000 renovation when Mayor Trammell was in office, most of that, with the exception of about 10, maybe 11,000, was taken care of by community and community donations and
Right.
general labor. So yeah, that was a
So you
great effort from the community for that
It
one.
was.
added value back to the building for the city, city, so, yes, thank you.
Also, today, we agreed to evidently they're having troubles with the Pelivan, timeliness of the necessary rides. And so, that could make us about $3,000 a year,
Okay.
just in extra income.
So I think the motion was for discussion. Is that what it was?
For discussion.
So there's no
Action.
actual motion for action?
Yeah, it's in.
No, I made
mean,
it
it
for
would-
discussion.
We're not talking about what says on the agenda. Randy's motion, I believe, was just for discussion.
Discussion,
Yes.
Okay, all right, my bad.
that's correct.
So,
So
I
there'd
mean,
be no action, that's
Yeah.
basically.
so we can make a motion for no action? I make a motion for no action.
Second.
Get that? Did you get that, Courtney?
I'm getting it.
Okay. All right.
Would Mayor or Mr. Gantier, would you please explain to these gentlemen what your motion means by no action?
Well, that means we're not deciding anything now, but it could be considered, when the mayor works on the next year's budget like you were asking. It's just, we're not saying yes or no right here, we're just not doing anything, and then it could be looked at.
So I think the request for ears is what you had tonight, right? That we would hear the request, and then the request was heard by all in the room. And so going forward, with no action tonight, the request will be respected and taken in consideration for the next year. Okay?
Carl?
Thank you. Carl,
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, we do thank you for what you're doing.
All right. Item B,
Can we vote
oh,
on that?
yes, I'm
please?
sorry.
Thanks.
Call for the vote, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes,
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
Thank you. Item B, discussion and possible action regarding financial stability of the city to determine if the hiring freeze should be amended.
Motion for discussion?
Okay, motion from
I'll
Gantier.
second.
Second from Chitwood. Discussion?
Yes, how are we discussing it to be amended? Is it solely for
For item C.
for item C?
Tonight is solely for item C.
The reason it's placed on the agenda is because item C is also on the agenda.
Right.
can we talk about other things that are gonna have to happen too with this amendment?
Yeah, I think it
The-
encompasses the entire financial stability.
Yeah.
Because we are gonna have to come up with some way of getting grass mowed this summer. I mean, that's one of the things that's gonna have to happen.
I wish that Mr. Powell from the Park Department would have been here tonight, but he needs 2 people for the mowing in the parks. And so he doesn't know that I'm bringing this up on his behalf, but I'm going to. Because in the past, their summer help that they've hired have usually been high school kids, and those are coming up to be available in May. Not saying that then they will be high school kids, but they're coming up in May if that is their people that they apply to hire. And with it being the 1st of April now, they need to get the go-ahead to go ahead and seek the applications for that, to have them in place before, say, school is out, so they don't get another job, and then we're out to people that usually may apply for those jobs. So I think that at least that portion of it seriously needs to be considered by the council tonight, since we're addressing that issue. But right now, we also have the issue of the volunteer firemen, which I feel is a necessary reason for lifting or amending the hiring freeze for the volunteer firemen. It's very, very cheap in the big picture on the budget, and Mr. Young will probably have a lot to say about that, and I'm gonna leave it up to him to come up and talk about that. But I think we need to seriously consider the volunteer firemen and the summer help for the Parks Department.
Could the amendment,
The amendment previously is for the golf course and the rec center to hire as they wish. Right now, it's only
they're not part of
on
the general fund though. What if,
Shelter for summer mowing too. We're gonna be coming up on a mess ourselves.
It's where all those volunteer efforts come in, right? So also something to consider is that we do have a retirement date on an individual from the cemetery, and that'll be the end of June.
An official retirement.
Yes, it's official retirement, so there are going to be needs within the department, so as you go forward,
what if we make this amendment to I don't know if this is the right way to put it, on a case-by-case basis? Is there a way to do that, or is that not the way we need to do it, or,
How would you expect the case-by-case basis just to work?
you have somebody retire?
Well, it would be like tonight, they put
Okay,
it back on
so
the agenda.
that's something that's beyond the scope that we had when we started the hiring freeze, right?
Right, so what about the employee that I'm missing? There was a terminated employee after the hiring freeze, so is that something that would be considered on this case-by-case basis, the backfill of that position?
That's what we'd have to discuss. I'm just saying.
I'm just giving you guys other.
So-
Sure.
I'm gonna come in again and put some thought into this. You know, as we look at this, we've now gone since August, September without really doing hiring. And I will reiterate again, when this came to the table, I said we probably need to consider provisions. And here we are again, discussing whether or not to lift, whether to keep it on, whether to lift, are we responsible, are we not? You know, the irony that I find in this whole situation is that this council has the authority to say no to a hire. This hiring freeze almost feels like it's becoming a power struggle more than a reality. We find ourselves again going, well, do we lift it? Are we stable? Can we bring on a, you know, and in reality, it's not serving us anything more than wasting a lot of the city's time and efforts. You know, the department heads have adapted. They've done, you know, Courtney with her shortage has worked. She's been using Jay, which is my secretary, and that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. She does a great job. It works in the schedule of things. Mr. Moore at the rec center kind of cracks me up. He said he needed some trainers, and so when he wasn't allowed to get those, he went out and bought 6 Peloton machines that had virtual trainers, and now he doesn't have to hire trainers. The department heads have been very responsible in what they do. And again, at this point, here we are now, tail end of the season. We're getting ready to start a new season where we're gonna need mowers. Those part-time temp help guys, we know that the turnover is high. They are low-paid summer help. It's just the way it works. I would rather not spend the council and the community's time going back and forth with this hiring freeze for every time we lose one and we need one, and we lose one and then we have to have a council meeting of the budget. Look, the department heads have proven that they're responsible and that they understand the situation. The council has the authority and the autonomy in the same token to say, no, we don't need that employee. So, you know, my request is, it's time to be done with this.
So in essence, by saying we're gonna lift the hiring freeze, then it does become a case by case.
As it was before.
I
I
so
can't hire
that would
somebody
be-
until you guys approve it anyway.
I think what will happen is, we've gotta have one in the city clerk, we've gotta have 2 in the library, we've gotta have 2 and we're out of money. We're $875,000 down from what we were last year. However you wanna look at it, we're gonna be close to $1 million short for next budget.
So how
So
does
we've
having,
gotta face it.
how does having a hiring freeze,
That's saving us money. If one quits and we don't replace them, then we're trying to gain.
respectfully,
You're gonna
Mr.
save a
Smith,
lot of money by letting all of these employees quit because they don't wanna work for anybody that won't have adequate staffing.
I guess we're not hearing what I'm saying. The council has the authority to vote no on a hire. That's why they have to come to the council. But yet, we have a select few that are determined that we're not lifting a freeze, but yet we will amend this thing 100 times. When in reality, it was suggested that we do it with provisions that would allow for critical levels to be replenished at critical levels. When we have budgeted positions that the same people that put the freeze on approved in the process. I feel like at this point, realize your roles as a council member, that you do have the authority to say no to those hires. But there is a point where we're going to have to hire. And this process, man, it's killing some time. It is never ending. Every council meeting, we're bringing it back up for, tonight we've got Jakowski, is that it? I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Jakowski, $16 a call, and we're having this 20-minute conversation. And in reality, we could just say discussion and possible action to hire Chris Jakowski as a volunteer firefighter. Yes, 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 no, 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 and we get on with it. That's the power of the council. But we have this element of, we want to keep beating down this hiring freeze discussion, and we're wasting our time and the citizens and everybody that's listening. So it doesn't have anything to do with, we're just going to willy-nilly hire. We haven't done that. We're not going to do that. And if you feel like you don't like the position, you have the ability to vote no, rather than have this extra layer of control over the situation. So.
Well, I think the agenda item is speaking about amending with the understanding for the discussion of item C. I don't believe we could terminate it right now because it's clearly says amended. I do understand what Mr. Lamar is saying. I would like to see what kind of numbers roughly we might need for the summertime help. But in dealing with this item, I think we need to, as it's written, are we willing to amend it for this volunteer is, I think, what we gotta decide right now.
I think amending can amend doesn't say we're just gonna lift it for the night, for one item. An amendment is a change, so.
And you can amend the agenda item to completely lift it. You guys have amended other ones in this exact meeting to have different verbiage.
Who made the motion?
It was only a motion
Gantier-
for discussion.
Yeah, I know.
Gantier made the motion for discussion and Chitwood seconded.
And I did that on.
Who
purpose.
made the motion? He's interrupting.
Gantier
Okay.
made the motion for discussion.
Chris, would you be in favor of amending your motion to allow for the hiring of a volunteer firefighter and 2 summer help for the park department?
What summer help are we hiring? Is it kids?
It would be through
It's
the,
whoever applies for the
no,
job.
it would be through the temp agency through
That's what I was
Express.
wanting to know, how much
Yeah.
that's gonna cost.
Was the first motion just for discussion?
The first one
Discussion
for
only.
discussion, and I think,
I don't think he needs to amend.
yeah, I don't, somebody else
the
can make
motion.
whatever a motion for action that they want,
So you
whether
can
I
make
say
that.
anything or not.
Well, there's a motion on the table already.
For
It's just a
discussion only.
discussion, not for action.
So you can make one for.
You can make the
discussion and
one if
action
you want, the way ever you want it.
I'd like to have Frank here to ask some questions about if we hire him too, what we can cover with those 2. Mainly, what I'm thinking about is we're paying somebody to do the old police station, if he can do that, and do the dog pound where the police don't have to do it. But Frank's not here, so we don't know.
Correct. But in this sense, though, we're going to just allow for the freeze to be amended to allow for hiring of 2 summer help. We haven't talked about what their job description is gonna do on what they're gonna mow or not mow. It's just to let him see, it's just to allow us to seek the vacancies. That makes,
Well, I know this is a hassle, and I know Mayor doesn't like it, and I don't really like it either. But we're fighting for survival. We can't just say, okay, let's let her go, and then I've gotta have one, she's gotta have one, they've gotta have one.
we're not talking,
That's gonna happen.
this is about summer help
Okay.
at the
Can he-
park department, not she, who, whatever.
Can he not still seek that? Because it seems like I've been here and like the chief has done something, to be prepared for when he was actually able to hire. I mean, is that something he can still seek? I'm just curious. I don't know. Is that something?
Since we would be using Express for these temps, we're not able to reach out to Express and allow them to start hiring people
So it's
until.
different when it goes with the temp.
And it has nothing, and when you talk about the chief, assuming you're talking about the police chief.
Sorry.
Those are full-time employees, they're not temporary summer help.
Right. But it's because of the temp thing, really, that prevents him from being able to.
I could go out for applications all day long for my positions, but I can't hire anybody because of a hiring freeze.
But the bottom line too is we've got to mow the grass.
We take volunteers. It's a simple form.
Let's start with one that makes 95,000 a year then.
Who's
And
that?
it's,
That'd be you.
I don't make 95, thanks, Bruce, but I would do it all day
Close
long.
to it though.
I would do that.
Okay.
Jeremy and I have actually talked about the responsibility of the shelter.
I have no problem with hiring the two people. I know we got to, and now these people are gonna do the park and the cemetery, these two helpers?
They'll have the ability, since they work for Frank.
he could work on wherever he wants.
Well, I'm asking, you're gonna have more for the cemetery, can these two?
The cemetery operates on 3. And what I'm saying is, you're about to lose one that's a full-time. He's retiring, gone, not coming back. He's also our safety coordinator, so think about that. That's one we're gonna have to make that amendment to. But Frank has the ability, the unique ability, if he needs those temps at the cemetery, he can put them at the cemetery and bill it to there. They're really at his disposal. You know, we've talked about making a lot of changes to Frank's situation. You know, for those that are unaware, the maintenance and the janitorial are all under Frank as well. Why we did that when they cleaned City Hall, I'm not really sure, but we've talked about moving them back onto my budget and putting their where they're at, so that burden is no longer on Frank.
I would have no problem hiring two. I think we need to keep the hiring freeze on for control. If we don't, we're gonna lose it. But hiring these two and the volunteer fireman is an essential person that doesn't cost you anything to speak of. Have no problem with that either.
So how much more control does the hiring freeze give you over your no vote?
Gives us quite a bit because we have to discuss it every time. We don't get railroaded through something.
We have to discuss it every time.
Not a problem. When
And
when you're going under, you gotta discuss
We're
it.
getting into the season where we're gonna need a lot more temp help. So just keep that in mind.
Where we gonna get the money? How much was we over in January? 85,000 overspent over what we had income? Somewhere in that vicinity? We're not improving anything. We're still going down the hole.
Who
It's
approves
gotta
all the
do with
POs?
What we can do with.
Huh?
Who are the final signatures on all the POs?
Council members?
Thank you.
So you're throwing us under the bus again, aren't you?
Listen,
I remember that.
Goes
Okay.
both ways, Bruce, and I'm not trying to pick.
I'll quit
What I'm
signing
getting at
anything.
is that, again, we have amended this thing 24 times, if not more.
Yeah, we should never give, just like I didn't give on the budget in the first place. We should never give in, and if we give in some more, we're gonna keep giving.
But
We don't have any more money, we're gonna keep hiring.
I would like to make a motion that we amend this hiring freeze to consider the hire of Chris Jokowski as a volunteer firefighter.
Second.
we have a motion from Chris, a second from Bruce. Call for the vote.
One moment.
I have a question for Mr. Gantier.
Yes, sir.
Is the council going to, the council and the mayor, since they write the agenda, or he does, gonna consider on the next council meeting to discuss again the hiring of summer help for the park department?
I'm perfectly willing to entertain that idea. I just would like to have some numbers so that we can do I understand there's some things that have to be done. I get it.
And I understand that too, because Frank's not here to speak
Right.
for his people.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I'd like to talk to
And I
Frank.
just think if we could be here all day back and forth. Let's take care of this one, and then the
Okay.
next one,
Mayor, would you consider that, putting that on the agenda for the next?
Well, we've
We gotta get them hired or not.
Can we also consider the positions I need, because that seems like all it takes is for me to just put it on the agenda.
We're
for
not
this meeting
talking
and
to you about
amending.
this. You're interrupting the council and you're not spoken to about it.
So
Okay, okay.
we've already had a call for the vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Item C, Chief. Discussion and possible action to hire Chris Jokowski as a volunteer firefighter. Chris, why don't you come on up?
I make a motion.
Second.
I make a motion that we hire Chris Jokowski as a volunteer firefighter.
I told Nick to stand behind me.
It's all right.
No, Chris, actually, to be
BK.
honest with you,
We got to have a motion in a second. I make a motion that we hire Chris Jokowski as a volunteer firefighter.
I
Okay.
seconded.
Who's the motion and second?
The second was, the motion was Chris, the second was Chitwood. Chief, it's all you.
All right. Just to make it official.
no, you're great, that's fine. No, Chris, actually, his application when it came in to be volunteer, he was right there. If it would've been 2 weeks prior, he would've fell through before the hiring freeze. So he's been sticking it since August, September, when he started nosing around, he's still nosing around. Our volunteers aren't like any other part-time or anything, they're not by the hour. If we page out for a structure fire, they come in, if it takes us 4 to 5 hours, he's getting $16 for that run, the way it is. Right now, the state pension has got them capped, they're right around 4,500 is all they can make. If they make more than that, they have to go through the pension board and all this stuff, because that's just where volunteer pay is capped for an annual, that's all they can make. They're actually looking at that now, trying to pass some bills to raise that up, so you can run, right now, I think, Lisa only pays up to 18 runs a month, is all they can acquire, just because we gotta watch those caps, we can't go over those. So, the state's actually even looking at trying to run that up to where maybe per call they get paid more, or give the departments the ability, because a lot of people don't understand, volunteers are actually, they're getting scarce. There's not that much interest in it anymore. There's not that many people that actually wanna put the time in. He's working another job, got a family and everything else, and we're like, hey, come up here and bust it for us, and we're gonna give you $16. So, we work them, and these guys, the volunteers, they do the same as the paid guys do when they're up there, so they're going through the same training eventually. We do a lot of in-house training with our volunteers, so it doesn't cost us. We've got, I think, 8 OSU FST instructors, so we can train them up to where we're not sending our volunteers to Stillwater and stuff like that, but we can get them to where they have knowledge and they got skills to conduct the missions that we send down to them. But, like I said, and then Chris had a big speech, I don't know if he put his paper away, but. No, but Chris has been great, and he's even, like I said, through this period of time, I think that speaks a lot for the gentleman, because, he hasn't give up, he's still showing up, and.
Absolutely.
That speaks volumes for myself, for him to say, hey, he's still wanting to do it, he's still wanting to give back to his community, so.
Well, it's good to see his interest is there, his
You bet.
dedication to the department. You do know Chief's already talking retirement, right? Keep that in mind. But we'll have to have a discussion first. So,
But that's all I got. If y'all have any questions, I'd be more than happy to share to answer if there's anything.
no further discussion. Call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Welcome
Yeah.
aboard. buddy.
Congratulations.
All right, item 5, city attorney's report. A, public hearing. Enter into public hearing. PCO Holdings LLC is requesting to annex into the city limits of Pryor Creek the property described as, here we go. Do what?
Waive reading.
You want to waive the reading? Are we okay with waiving the reading?
Is that legal?
I don't think you can waive the agenda.
All right, let's read it.
Okay.
A tract of land situated in the southwest quarter, section 31, township 21, range 19, east of the Indian Basin Meridian, Mays County, Oklahoma, being more particularly described as follows to wit. Commencing at the southwest corner, said southwest 4th, thence north 88, 28, 26 east for a distance of 1,162.71 feet along the south line of said southwest 4. Thence, north 88 degrees, 25 foot, 43 inches east for a distance of 999.72 feet along said south line. Thence, north 1 degree, 3417 west for a distance of 240.5 feet to the point of beginning. Thence, south 88 degrees, 2543 west for a distance of 877.1 feet. Thence, north 1 degree, 3417 west for a distance of 158.49 feet. Thence, north 59 degrees, 12 foot 9 east for a distance of 823.28 feet. Thence, south 50-53 east for a distance of 157.63 feet. Thence, north 88-26-15 east for a distance of 81.53 feet. Then south 134-17 east for a distance of 492.96 feet to the point of beginning. Contains 7.5911 acres, more or less. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion from Chitwood, second from Lamar. Thank you.
You can hit me, it's fine.
I know the battery's low.
You stuck back there, Travis? You all right? All right.
Can you see how Terry still, or?
Yes.
All right, if you're on this side of the room, you might move in. If you're on that side, you might move this way, or you can look up there at that screen. So, we're here to talk about annexation at phase 1 of the apartment complex. So, I'll come over here. I can point on this one. So, phase 1 of the apartment complex is gonna take into account 6 buildings, apartment buildings, and 1 clubhouse. So, it will take in this area right here for annexation. What you may or may not know right now, we've already annexed this area right here, coming up to here, comes down, comes over, down, back up, follows that red line. So what's been built to date is the district, these buildings, this parking, Red Crown, and these 6 buildings, and that clubhouse. So what you, right now you may ask, how many units in phase 1 of the luxury apartments are being leased out? Right now there's 128 available units. He's got 107 leased out, so that's about 83.6%. That's pretty good. Yep. And it just keeps rising. Mr. Burdick's here if you'd like to ask him questions about that, but you know, there was questions about, okay, I know Mr. Tremble's not here, so he's wanting some cost analysis and stuff done. So what I did was well, first off, I went and talked to the chief of police, Chief Cantrell, and asked what his opinion was. They thought it was a good thing because they're already coming right now to what's been annexed before. So them coming a little bit further over is not a big deal. They already run that area anyways. I talked to Fire Chief Young and I asked him, what's your thoughts on it? He said, we're already coming out here anyway. It's already in our territory. We're for it because at the end of the day, when you're selling utilities, you're getting sales tax. When you're sitting inside the city limits, right now, say there's 128 units, you know, over the whole master plan for that area is 298 units. So you figure 298 units with people sitting in there, they're gonna sit there on their phones, they're gonna buy off of Amazon, you're gonna get sales tax off of that. If it's not in the city limits, you ain't gonna get nothing. You're only gonna get the people that are going into city limits to like buy. You're gonna get some people go to Walmart. You're gonna get them to use our eatery establishments here. I mean, the long haul, to me, I feel like is substantial for the city because, I mean, well, let's just be honest, we're looking for money. This is a chance for us to get some money. You gonna get it up front right now? No, but in the long haul, over time, you're gonna start getting it. Because this is the master plan of what the engineers for the Mid-America Industrial Park, they've done. So you can look at it. This area right here is kind of a mixed use, single family, kind of lower, smaller homes. That's 111 units right there in that area. And you gotta remember, this is a conceptual, okay? So anybody can draw on a sheet of paper. But at least it's a concept that we can talk from. You look at this area, those are, say, medium-sized lots for medium-sized single-family homes. Right there, you got 136 units. You go down to this one, they kind of call them kind of the executive homes. A little bit bigger lots, a little bit bigger homes, you got 17 units. I mean, if this whole thing comes to fruition right now, you could have 562 units. You may ask, well, why is it not moving? Well, to be honest, when this MOU was in place and when all this was coming to fruition, it was 2019. Guess what hit in 2020? COVID destroyed everything. We're coming out of COVID right now. I mean, we're getting close to being out of it, but as everybody's talked here, that you hear every council meeting, everybody talked here today, you've got inflation, everything's gone up. Lead times, they're starting to come down, but not like where we wanted them before, but they are starting to come down. So that's kind of my spiel on that. So what the park is doing right now, if you go out there right now, what you see is, of course, Mr. Burdick building his apartments and going to continue on. You see Cherokee Nation building their early learning childhood center, huge out there. You see a boulevard being built right now, okay? So this is a boulevard that the park is paying for out of their pocket right now. That, and it's phase one is gonna stop right here, and phase two is gonna tie on into Elliott with that connection to US 69 or 69A. You may ask, what's that gonna cost, okay? So right now, after talking with their engineers, they awarded that District Boulevard phase one, which includes some water line work and some sanitary sewer work to get ready for those apartments or for those lots up there. $3.3 million. It's a lot of money, but their intent is to build the infrastructure to take some of that risk out of the developer that's going to come in and want to develop this property. So they're taking on a big chunk of it right now to do what they think the park needs to do, which is everybody you talk to says, you know, they need rooftops. Well, this, you know, basically you get about 562.
And they're building those roads, didn't they tell us, to 30-year standard?
Yeah, they're about 25, 30-year standard. And I talked to Buddy today as well. And of course, his daughter was sick, so he couldn't come, which was fine. And I asked him, I said, Buddy, what do you feel? Because I talked to the chief of police, I talked to the fire chief. They're great. His concern is, it's really not a concern, is he honestly told me, he goes, I don't have a map to know exactly what roads I got to deal with throughout the city or outside the city, because he can only supposed to do what's inside the city limits, and he gets people calling him all the time. So technically, he really needs a map to know what he's got to do. So he's like, if I had a map to know what I got to do, I can plan for it. You know, it's all about planning. If you don't have a plan, then you're just kind of treading water. Correct. You're going to drown. So what else? So this first initial phase, there's about a 200-foot stretch of road that goes into the apartment complex. Ryan, go down a little bit, buddy. Well, that's the zoom into that top one. So phase one of the boulevard is not shaded, phase two shaded, okay? You can look at that, Ryan, go just a little bit more, buddy. That's the apartment complex entrance into the apartments. It's about 225 foot of what Buddy would have to maintain once, you know, it's deeded over to the city, which is in the right of way, which would be per the plat. When that plat comes, it's been approved by the Board of Trustees at the Mid-America Industrial Park a couple weeks ago. So that's 225 foot of apartment street and then 190 foot of connection that ties into 69 down there by Red Crown. You know, they paid $429,000 for that. So, you know, the park's got an investment out there. They've got a lot of money. They're wanting to grow. And when this MOU came to fruition, it was, how can all parties work together? How can the City of Pryor, Municipal Utility Board, and the park work together? And this is kind of how we thought we could work together, is they're going to give us some land once it's time to annex, and we're going to see the fruition of that labor. You may ask, because I've heard some meetings, I want the property now. I want it inside the city limits now. Park ain't going to do that. They want control of that right now, because even though that's a conceptual plan of what they think is going to happen, if you get a developer in and they've got a pocket full of money, that could turn to the wayside and be totally different. And with the industrial park owning it right now, it allows them to, the developers not to have to pay use tax. And that's a big key for a developer not to have to pay that extra tax. So you may say, well, we need that tax. Well, I understand that, but you're not getting it right now, so what does it really matter? I mean, seriously. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have. I mean, this is a partnership between 3 entities, and I understand there was only 2 people here at the time when this was signed. I think it was Councilor Choya and Councilor Chitwood. So it's been, honestly, it shouldn't come to this because we would already be so much further if COVID didn't hit back in 2020. But it hit, so we had to reverse. We reversed, and now we're starting to ramp up again. So I borrowed this from the center, the Welcome Center at the district. I just wanted you guys to see the magnitude of what could possibly go out there. And I think Terry said, what you call it last night, the minister, Little Pryor, is that what you said? What'd you say? Ward 5. Yeah, he said it's gonna be Ward 5. Well, but it's a lot of stuff right there. I think, in the long haul, it's gonna benefit everybody. And, I'm talking about sales tax. I haven't even talked about utility sales, where the more meters we get out there in the community, the more likely we can keep rates as low as we can possibly keep them. I mean, because there's cities all over that you operate sales tax, utility sales. They got a lot higher utility rates because they pull out of that pocket to pay for a lot of stuff to help out their sales tax. So right now, my predecessor, they've done a great job of keeping rates as low as possible, but rates are going up on everything, and we can continue that, but we're just, I gotta find ways to put more meters in the system so I can try to keep rates low. And you can talk about areas around town that you can want to annex. There's really not much more we can go except this right here. And we can do that at a different day. So, we can discuss that later, but I'm here to entertain any questions that you may have. Fire away. Because I'm going on vacation tomorrow. You got me till midnight.
No questions? Comments? Thank you, sir.
All right, well, fair enough.
All right.
Hang on just. Okay, now you're good.
Item 2, exit public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Chitwood,
Second.
second from Mr. Gantier. When you're ready, call for the vote. I think we did it.
We never voted to enter the public hearing.
We didn't.
All right.
Okay, I'll redo it.
Where-
Here we go.
All right, let's have a motion to enter public
Motion.
hearing.
Second.
We got the motions, we
You'll
just
get the
never
motion.
voted.
Okay.
I made the motion.
Call for the vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Okay, we're in public hearing. Anybody have questions for Mr. Crisp at this time?
Did on what you said.
Ditto, just what I said, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions. We'll move on to item 2.
Is there any opposition here?
I was just saying, ask for
Yeah.
it's a public
Our
hearing.
public hearing, so any
Yeah,
opposition?
I do think we need to make sure everybody in the audience is okay with
Okay.
that.
Any opposition? No opposition? Anybody want to speak in behalf of?
I'll say this, so after review, there were questions last meeting, or whichever one set this, regarding the legality of the memorandum of understanding. Mr. Scheer did a memorandum, I think he's given a copy to all of you guys, I concur with that. I will also say, so the memorandum of understanding, I don't know who has a copy of it. I think if you don't follow through with the memorandum of understanding, I think there's an argument that it may not be a valid contract, but I think there's definitely an argument that MUB and the private entity has detrimentally relied. So I think you have legal exposure if you don't follow through with that.
Thank you. Okay. Further questions, comments? Good. Item 2, exit public hearing. Do I
So
have-
moved.
I'll second that.
Let me get my words out, guys, before we rush. That's where we get into problems. We have a motion from Gantier and a second for Mr. Chitwood. When you're ready, call for the vote.
Do we need a second to do this,
You need a second on all of them, yeah.
to
Everybody.
exit?
All motions.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Item B, discussion and possible action to annex into the city limits of Pryor Creek the property adjacent to the municipal city limits of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma, described as a tract of land situated in the southwest quarter, section 31, township 21, range 19, east of the Indian Basin Meridian, Mays County, Oklahoma, being more particularly described as follows, to wit: commencing at the southwest corner of said southwest corner, thence north 88, 28, 26 east, for a distance of 1,162.71 feet along the south line of said southwest quarter, thence north 88 degrees 2543 east for a distance of 999.72 feet along the said south line of thence north 1 degree 3417 west for a distance of 240.5 feet to the point of beginning, thence south 88 degrees 2543 west for a distance of 877.1 feet, thence north 1 degree 3417 west for a distance of 158.49 feet, thence north 59 degrees 1209 east for a distance of 823.28 feet, thence south 30 degrees 5053 east for a distance of 157.63 feet, thence north 88 degrees 2615 east for a distance of 81.53 feet, thence south 1 degree 3417 east for a distance of 422.96 feet to the point of beginning, contains 7.591 acres, more or less.
Make a motion.
I have a motion.
I'm sorry. You did.
No, it's okay. No, do we have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. No, I got another line. I apologize.
Yep. Sorry.
And designating the zoning of the same upon its annexation to be residential multifamily RM. Okay, now we have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
apologize.
second.
We have a motion from Mr. Chitwood and a second from Ms. Bradshaw.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
One of them, I was told that we can't, and I'm maybe wrong or may have been given wrong information, but we can't designate the zoning of this at the same time we annex it, especially since I don't think this has gone to the Planning and Zoning Committee. Second, my comment I want to make is when we agreed to put this on the agenda, the previous meeting to discuss this, we had talked about, we were that's just to get it for the public hearing. There were some requests that were made, I forget the actual word, but like a cost analysis and different things that we had discussed. And the discussion was, well, we're only putting it on there to discuss it. And so there's a few things that I'm not necessarily against this by any stretch of the imagination. It's just I want a little more information.
Sure.
Cost analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Police and fire already going out there.
Mm-hmm.
0. Streets, did you maintain them and not wait till they're total, crud? And you have a plan, it's not gonna cost that much. You just gotta budget accordingly. And you're gonna be gaining sales tax while you're waiting for that plan to take effect.
Typically, according to Buddy, those new roads for the first 5 to 7 years aren't going to need much
And
more than clean.
honestly, if the roads are built per specs like they say they are, you actually got a base under them. The problem with most of these streets around town, they weren't built to any standards. They were Old County Road that they just laid asphalt over the top of them. There's no base. Your road's only as good as your base. Now I'm gonna do it on my engineer side. Your road's only as good as your base. If you ain't got a base, you ain't got a road. You can keep covering up, it's just a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid fix, that's all you're gonna do. So, like I said, as long as you have a plan, just cost analysis, everybody likes cost analysis, but my crystal ball, here, do this. $3.3 million. Inflation rate 3%, compounded for 30 years. Let's see how much that road's gonna cost. It's gonna be a lot, 30 years from now. But if you maintain it like it should be, you'll never hit that rate, that price. So as far as, I know there's some talk about, BK and his boys, you know, it's in their fire district or whatever, and they get paid for it being out in the county and not in the city limits. Well, they're not making that much money, cause it doesn't matter if they're getting paid. And BK, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter if it's 4 hours or 8 hours, they're getting called for a day, or for a truck for that day, correct?
Yeah, if we go to bill, we bill outside city limits. Inside city limits, we don't bill for anything that's on the ordinance, but.
How many times you fought a fire out here? Well, the trailer park's gone now, so.
Well, the trailer park's right, no.
So just so everybody knows, the park has bought up both trailer parks.
Trailer park, we've been out there, I thought you were talking about.
No, I'm talking about, you know, what we're.
Sugar Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been out there several times, but they, for those.
But I mean, you're not making bank by running
No.
calls out there.
No, if they have a fire subscription, that affects how we bill and stuff like that. But if it's outside city limits, we just bill them. We got a response fee and then per truck and manpower, we bill for that. And it usually comes down between the insurance and the homeowner, how much they pay, or the business owner, how much they pay off that bill. If it's coming from the insurance, like I said, the property owner. But if I think what you were trying to say earlier, if you annex it in or if you don't, it's gonna be in our fire load. We're getting it if they build it or if they don't. So it's gonna be in our fire district. If all that happens and it's not in city limits, it'll be our responsibility.
I mean, this is just my thinking. The last thing I wanna do is sit here 20 years down the road, look at this all developed and go, sitting on the sidelines going, crap, we didn't do it. We had a chance, we didn't. And I'm thinking, that's kind of where we're gonna be. I mean, we need money. You get sales tax, you get rooftops, you get people buying stuff inside city limits. I mean, we got Whataburger fixing to open up here in a couple of weeks. You got Tropical Smoothie gonna open up, you know, hopefully summertime. You know, that's a college kid's haven right there, and high school kids. I mean, never been. I don't go, but you know, look at me. I'm not healthy, but but yeah, I mean, cost analysis, you can write it up all day you want. You ain't gonna get one. I mean, for this, I mean, it's roadway rehab work is what it is maintaining what you got if it's built right. And they have their own inspector on staff. Like I have my inspector out there when they're doing the water and the sewer. I pay for my guy, I pull him out of the crew to inspect that work to make sure it's done before I take it over, because I don't want to take it if they're not built to standards. They have hired their own staff to do their own inspections during construction because they don't, you know.
Yep.
They want to make sure it's built to at least a 25-year life. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I think actually the city standards is, and don't quote me on this, but I think they could be a 20-year. They're not under a 20, but there might be 20.
I talked to Buddy, he said ours was a 20 and these are 30, so.
So, I mean, you're getting more bang for somebody else's buck.
Correct.
So, any other questions?
Chase, I guess my question is for you. At the can we zone at the time of annexation?
Yeah, I think you can. I don't know why not. I don't think it has to go through your,
I can speak to that.
Yeah,
briefly.
come on up to
might
the
know,
mic
actually.
so I don't get yelled at.
I haven't looked into that, I'll tell you that.
Nina will be all over Zach and you if you don't talk to that mic.
The UDO that the city adopted several years ago, which is your development ordinances, okay? The specific ordinance on annexation says that upon its annexation, the zoning will be fixed at that time. So black letter in your ordinances says when you annex, you zone it at that time.
Should be.
We can get some, if you guys want a copy of that, we can get you a flash drive with it on there. That's not a big deal. That flash drive has a lot.
Yeah, so say they've got it all on their tablets right now. Code book.
Well, if you want a hard copy, I know Terry, sometimes you like the hard copy, so we can do that. All right. Further questions? If there are none, then let's call for the vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gauthier,
Abstain.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you on behalf of Love.
Jared, thank you for stealing that from the Welcome Center. I heard steal twice, but we appreciate you being the voice on that, and we'll go from there. Item C, first reading of an ordinance regarding the annexation of lands described on the attached notice published by the city of Pryor Creek. Did we vote? Yeah, we just voted on it. Sorry. Concerning the said annexation proceeding and involving the petitioned annexation concerning 7.5911 acres situated in the southwest quarter of Section 31, Township 21, North, Range 19, east of the IBNM belonging to PCO Holdings LLC, adjacent to the property developed as the district.
You want to waive that reading?
Did you guys?
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
I'll second the
Oh,
motion to
second.
waive the reading.
This does have the zoning in it, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
Okay. I don't think we have any action on that.
Yeah, you gotta adopt it. So do a motion to adopt.
I'll make a
Okay.
motion to adopt and waive the reading.
I'll
Can
second.
we start over, please?
Well, we can. I was just reading. I don't see anywhere in there about adopting
Yeah, it
or
doesn't say.
anything. That's why
Oh, in your agenda?
there's no terminology.
Yeah, I'm
for
trying to
it.
figure out what we're voting on.
You're voting on,
First,
Waiving the
depends
first
what your
reading.
motion is. The ordinance are the last 3 pages in your packet.
But is there,
So either way, we need to have a motion to approve and waive the reading of the first reading of the ordinance.
Yeah, and a motion to adopt.
And,
I think you're fine to do that.
okay. Randy and
I amend.
Terry, do you amend your motions?
Yes.
Okay.
What he said.
Yeah, but he's 200 an hour, so if you.
Yeah.
It's on your tab.
It's not on the agenda to adopt.
Yeah, it's just first reading, so you adopt it.
Okay, we can do that. We'll do that. So you've waived reading, so motion to waive reading, and then no action on it.
It'd be waive reading and approve the first reading,
You can, oh,
but we can't adopt it until the second reading.
correct, and I'm looking at your charter. That's correct, yeah.
Chitwood, Lamar, you good with waiving the reading and approving the first reading of this ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, call for the vote.
Gantier,
yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Item 6, committee reports. Budget personnel.
9th next month.
Okay. Ordinance insurance
nothing scheduled.
and street and maintenance.
March 26th so next Tuesday.
All right. Unforeseeable. I just want to make a quick comment. It's not really unforeseeable business, but I'm going to say it anyway. We need to make sure, council, I'm speaking to the council, speaking to myself as well, that as we're in these meetings, that we maintain decorum, respect for one another, for those in the audience, and for the discussions that we have. You know, I understand that, like, politics is a passionate thing. We, you know, from time to time, we're human, and we need to fight that temptation a little bit harder to control the way that we speak with others around us. You know, in our council chambers, this is not where we fight. This is where we handle business. This is not is not a battleground. So if you've struggled to get that under control, then I'm going to ask that you continue to work on keeping your decorum and your common courtesy for your neighbor in mind as we go forward. So that's all I have. Item 8, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for adjourn from Gantier and a second from Chitwood. Call for the vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
All right, we will call to order the Pryor Public Works Authority. Approve the minutes of the March 5th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Chitwood and a second from Mr. Gantier.
Truck we bought.
Call for the vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay. We have no unforeseeable business. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All right. We have a motion from Mr. Choya and a second from Bradshaw. Call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Malure,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar.
Yes.
Adjourn.
You passed it, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Boom.
You can sign it.
I can sign